Oh, it looks like we might be a little bit frozen. Let's see if we can try again. Let's come out and start again. We might have to do a little something. Fix this. Let's see. We're still a little bit frozen, but we're going to give it a go for a minute. Hang on, folks. Alrighty, folks, welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. I don't know, folks, it's a little glitchy. We just did an SOS to Michelle, and we'll see if Michelle pops in and she can give us a little bit of a hand here. Hopefully it's going to not give us too much of trouble through the whole show, but it does seem a little bit delayed. I'm not sure why, but we're going to give it a go. And thanks for hanging out and being patient with me as we got things going. Hi, Mish, Heidi, Ms. Vero PJ. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Maybe it's not so bad right now. It seems to be. Maybe I just needed to take a breath. And maybe we can just thank Mercury retrograde and the full moon or whatever else that we need to whatever else energetically. Maybe I just need to ground and not have such big energy too. That might be part of it today because I was very excited about today. Oh my gosh, Cindy, that's fabulous. Cindy from Surrender and Shine. Hi, James. Has her cards out ready to go. Oh, yes, Heidi ground a little. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for being here. Virginia Armstrong, hello. Okay, things seem to be running a little bit smoother. Let's bring our guest out. So this is a returning guest. So excited that the schedule worked to have her back on. Oh my gosh, everyone, thanks so much for being here. Oh, Heather Stewart, I'm really excited that you were able to catch the show. Julie Dow, Melissa Rivero, Amanda Debach, Angela McCara, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Sasha Graham is the best-selling author of 10 books and tarot kits, including Darkwood Tarot, which we discussed last time she was on, and 365 tarot spread. She teaches tarot classes and produces tarot events at New York City's premier cultural institutions, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Sasha has appeared on film, television, radio, and the New York Times. And we're going to welcome her to the show, the Tarot Diva.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so glad. That was a little panicky at the beginning there.
I was too. It was very David Lynch, actually. I thought it was the glitch. It's all good.
Yeah, I need to work on my improv and my monologue so that I can just slide through that with a little more grace. But it is what it is, for sure. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello.
Oh, Susan Barta, thank you so much for being here. Diane Vandenberg, thank you so much. Karen Sloot, it's nice to see you. Angela McCara. There are so many people here that have their cards out and ready, and you really are able to tap into, and Abigail Larson, the two of you are quite a team.
Yeah.
Quite a team. So, and you really are able to create those decks and themes that people want to touch. They want to touch the cards, they feel them intuitively. They're just all of the senses.
Yeah, Abigail, she's really a muse for me. You know, like when I will go card by card when we're designing a deck, because the story starts to unfold when she begins to illustrate. So I'll give directions for a few cards. She'll bring them in, and then it changes. I mean, so working with Abigail, decks with Abigail, it is truly a collaboration that I don't think could happen with any other artist. It's it's special. She really is one of my muses.
Well, and for the two of you, like, to collaborate, she must feel that way with you too. You know, that it has that soul connection to it where there's just ease.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find. It really is hard to find. Stephanie Malo, she's an author of a series called Stopping to Smell the Flowers. And we do an event where we do a meditation, but she starts half of it and I finish it, but we don't tell each other what we've written. Wow. So, and it just flows so beautifully. Like when you find that person, you just know each other's vibe, and it's beautiful.
And I mean, it makes for a wonderful working collaboration as well, because if something's not working, we can address it and we fix it because we both know it, right? We're both vibing like in that way. And so it's just making a tarot deck, especially with a publisher, it's a giant collaboration. There's so many more than just myself and just Abigail. So yeah, working in tandem with her and being on the same page just makes everything so much easier.
And honoring the process of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something very special also happened with Darkwood. And it was interesting, the timing of that. It wasn't my first tarot deck. It was Abigail's first deck. And it was interesting that a shadow deck would come out in the midst of the global pandemic, which was such a shadow moment. And so it's interesting too, the timing of Vampire's Tale, kind of a shadow 2.0 coming out at a very full time.
Yes. Where this age of Aquarius is happening, and so many things, so many institutions, ideas, belief systems that are crumbling right now in this time period.
Literally, it's like the mask is being ripped away, and suddenly we're all able to somehow see things that were right in front of our face that we were never able to see before.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh, I love it. People are calling you, "Hey, Queen." I love that. Sandy Cordick, hello. Thank you so much for being here. Fiona Clark, hello.
Hi, Heidi.
I pulled out, I mean, we chatted about it prior, but I don't know what dark Gothic girl, teenage girl didn't start with Anne Rice, right? So she's the queen of all things vampire, and there's a new vampire story or series almost every year. So I wrote them out. Sinners was last year.
So good. Best movie of the year.
Yes, I think I've watched it 3 or 4 times now. It is just so brilliant. The other one? The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I liked that one, not necessarily because it was like about Dracula, but Well, it was, but a different take on it. And then the new one that just came out in February, which seems interesting in the way that you are formulating, or the way that you have formulated the tarot deck. So it's Dracula, a Love Tale. Just came out in February, right? We all love vampires. Do you have a favorite vampire movie or vampire story, series, TV series?
I mean, I would say everything began with Anne Rice. And it's funny too, because when I started doing the deck, I did a big deep dive into like all things vampire. And I realized it wasn't so much just the trope of the vampire that I was in love with. It really was Anne Rice's world that sunk deeply into me and kind of informed the sensuality, the sexuality, the power, the sadness. There's great sadness and emotionality in her vampires that I really respond to. So I love the AMC, the new Interview with a Vampire and Lestat.
It's good.
Really good. Really, really good.
It's very good. Yeah. Okay, let's get your teaser language positions the vampire fairy tale where death marks your rebirth.
Yes.
So what kind of rebirth did you design this deck to support? Identity, relationships, like how did you formulate that?
Well, first of all, death is the number 13 in the tarot, in the majors, right? It's not 21. It's not at the end. It's right at the halfway point. And I think that because so many muggles, for lack of a better word, freak out when they see the death card, I think it's important for people, the public, to understand that death is esoterically speaking, is the transformation with which you've gone through an initiation, and you see the world through a new set of eyes. And so there's a few ways that this plays out inside of the vampire's tale. But let me just preface this by saying that I think this is the first deck that I know of, the first tarot that I know of, where the guidebook is actually a standalone book. You could read it beginning to end like a book without the cards, even though the cards are in there. So it's truly the story of the Fool as she goes through the entire world of the deck. And the world card the death card is when she is brought into the space of death and transformed and comes into a new understanding of what death represents, the intimate, the call back, kind of the intimacy that we all long for but never seem to find in our lifetime.
Right.
So it's like a very mystical rebirth. And she discovers she's half human, half vampire, and it pulls apart the whole relationship with vampire, death, and immortality as well. So it's the rebirth, it's the re-understanding of who you are.
And I think that leads into, the question that I had for you next about the vampire mythology as that precise mirror for spiritual growth. And if you could talk about that, like its desire and boundaries and all of those concepts. So can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, it's so much. So I think that vampires, and I know the New York Times just did a big article about why vampires, are enduring to this day, because there's all these new vampire things coming out this year. And I think that number one, vampires are the ultimate shadow projection because they've got everything going for them, right? So they're immortal in theory. Every vampire's they're immortal for better or for worse. They're frozen in time in this state of kind of perpetual being. They're incredibly sexual and sensual, and even the idea of I do love to eat. And I do sometimes feel erotic about the pizza that I'm eating. But if you think about a vampire, not everything for a vampire is sensorial. Everything is heightened. Everything is being on mushrooms or something, the sounds, the smells, the tastes. So I think it makes, for someone who's going to be immortal and live many, 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 many lifetimes, it keeps things interesting. And all of those senses are what what we use to engage with the metaphysical world, right? That's what
right.
enriching senses are all through those sensorial things. But then there's also, and I think the thing that attracted me to vampires as a teenager is the idea of power.
That was exactly it. Personal power. That was the one that I thought of when I was thinking of these questions and where I wanted to go in talking about the deck. Personal power is huge.
Huge. There's no predator more dangerous, beautiful, and deadly than a vampire. And for me, when I was a teenager, as a young person, exploring my boundaries and trying to figure out where I fit in the world, power issues were huge for me. Because as a young woman, particularly, you're given this odd power. In other ways, you're powerless, and so that's why the Fool in the tarot deck is, as a teenager who escapes the terrible prison and finally breaks free to find out she's a supernatural creature with all of this power. So the question then becomes, how do you wield the power that you have as an adult when you've kind of been like destroyed as a kid?
Exactly, Melissa. Death as a callback. I love that. Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
So Heather's, so Heather of the Garden. So Heather of the Forest. Sorry, Heather. So the Witch's Garden Tarot is absolute go-to deck. The imagery and accompanying insights are truly magical. My clients love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out, James. Good evening, ladies. Looking forward to the educational discussion. Have a wonderful show. Yeah, and the shadow work giving us that permission to release and surrender and speak our truth. All of that process, right? And holding this space that it's going to be a little messy. That it's not always this, it's not light and lovey. It's messy.
It's messy and it's embodied. It's embodied. None of this is about spiritual ascension, right? Shadow work is about being in your body and being able to get real with yourself about things you are aware of, but maybe you don't want to look at, both good and bad.
That's right.
And for me, that's the medicine. I think one of the only medicines that can actually cure the human race from this perpetual habit that we seem to be stuck in, narratives playing out repeatedly, generation after generation. And we're here to evolve. And that's what tarot is so great for. It helps us to see what our patterns are so we can figure out how to change them.
Mm-hmm. And tarot does not hold back. It holds you accountable, and on truly inside, we know where our shite is. And tarot goes, here it is, in case you needed a visual.
Let me be blunt. Oh, you didn't catch it? Let me keep giving you that card until you finally get it.
Yes. Yes. And they do keep giving you that same card until you get it. It's magical. And it's so interesting because somebody did ask me the difference between, actually today we had a conversation today about the difference between oracle and tarot. And there is a big difference between the two.
Huge difference. I mean, I could speak to the difference with a tarot deck. Like that's kind of clinical because, of course.
Please do. For those who are new to tarot and oracle, can you give a summary of that?
Yeah. So like in my clinical definition of why it's different, tarot is almost always, not always, but almost always 78 cards. There's always a major and a minor arcana with 4 suits. Because that structure is so complete in and of itself, any spiritual structure, story, anything can be layered on top, and you're still going to get the complete breadth of narrative, the complete breadth of human psychology that can be laid on top of it, which is, of course, why tarot has endured for centuries, why secrets have been laid into it, and why why I believe it has a kind of wild intelligence on its own. In other words, whenever we each go into the tarot, whenever we're pulling a card or gazing into the arcana, we're we're unfolding that energy, we're unfolding that archetype. And then as far as oracle decks go, oracle decks can be anything from 5 cards to 20 to 100
Yeah.
cards. And so oracle cards are wonderful, but you're not getting that specific structure that's so important in a tarot deck that's going to give you everything.
And it helps you, I find, dig deeper, and that relationship is different with the tarot deck than it is with oracle. I love my oracle decks for sure, but the tarot deck, it just knows me like a best friend for sure, a little deeper than the oracle deck. So yeah.
Have you ever had a tarot deck pick you, like an unexpected?
I have, and the deck, it moves, like the imagery becomes fluid and it moves when I use it. And I don't use it for anybody else. It's just mine, just for me. Don't use it for clients or with clients. I have other decks for that. But this one is fluid. It's very interesting. And I love it.
I love that. Same for me. The one that picked me is only for my private use.
Okay. So I wanted to ask if the deck, and the deck is available for pre-order, right?
It
Correct?
is. Yeah, you can find it everywhere. Like all the regular book selling places, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. You can pre-order it at your favorite bookstore. But I do want to say that right now, thriftbooks.com, which I love, they sell used books, but they also sell new books. They have it for the cheapest right now, which is for about $20 and change. So they're actually selling it for $7 less than Amazon is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I know that, we'll come back to this again near the end, but I just wanted to talk about it quickly at the beginning, so that people were aware that it's not available until September. So you can do the pre-order, but it does release in September. And how to tell the difference between your original decks that are yours and the ones that are not. So how to not get caught into an AI regurgitation or something that's spammy. I think that's important for people to understand that that's out there too.
Yeah, the best thing that everybody can do to protect themselves from accidentally buying a bootleg deck or a fake deck is to order it when it's on pre-order, because right now the deck is not out there. The images cannot be copied en masse, produced, and show up on like different websites. So if you pre-order, you're guaranteed to get the deck and the big like 200 plus cover page full color guide that goes with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, because authors right now have that struggle, and whatever we can do to be an ally and support that, to make sure that, and to go directly to an author's website and using the links that are on that author's website is also another way to protect yourself, to make sure that you are not getting something that is bootleg, for sure.
And I just read something today about online companies selling bootleg cosmetics. There was a big expose about that and testing them. So I was surprised. I was like, okay, yeah, it's not just tarot decks. It's pretty much everything. It just goes back to know where you're purchasing from and make sure you're getting what you bought.
That's right. I don't know if you've had that issue, but I had, not so much now, but it was really in the last year improved, because I took different steps to ensure that it wasn't happening anymore. But the fake accounts, the fake Psychic Carrie Lynn show, that was a nightmare, trying to deal. It really was like whack-a-mole.
It was unbelievable when that first started happening. So many people like were reaching out and were like, Sasha, did you text me? And these were like, it was shocking how many people
yes
for it.
Yeah. Craziness.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a weird world that we're in. So, go to the source as often as you can, and
live an analog life. Go back to the 80s.
Yes.
Read real books. Listen to records if you can.
Agreed.
Yes.
100% agreed. Okay. Does the deck follow a narrative, or is it more of an atmosphere where each card has its own chapter?
It follows a complete narrative. In fact, from the moment the fool escapes her castle prison to the world where she is ultimately transformed in a different way than death transforms her, and then when we go into the four suits, what she's really doing is having an exploration of this new vampire world that she didn't know existed. So she's quietly and silently observing as we go through all of the cards. And it's so sexy and yummy. I'm like so obsessed. I'm so upset. I mean, like no love. I love vampires, but I never saw a deck that was like, this feels like, I have to make one. I have to make one so it can be the world that I want to be in. And this is definitely.
How yummy is that? That is yummy.
So.
Okay, what are the signature archetypes you wanted to reclaim from vampire lore?
So
the hunter.
Yeah. So definitely.
And what do they represent?
So
like psychology, like psychologically or spiritually, those different archetypes. Yeah.
It's so funny. I can't help but think of those archetypes, but seen through a tarot lens. So for instance, the vampire hunter shows up in the Eight of Pentacles as he's like crafting his stakes, and he's got like all of like the maps and all of his like detective work that he's doing around London to like find the vampire. So we have the hunter is there. The archetype of families, because vampire families and clans, again, one of those enduring kind of vampire tropes that I think we all find really appealing. Like you can think of the Cullens, being part of the Cullens family in Twilight, or being part of Louis and Lestat's little family when they had little Claudia. This idea that vampires really get to pick their family, like we do, like we pick our friend family, but it's even deeper and more evocative. So that really comes to the fore in the 10 of Pentacles. And all of the pentacles, you see members of that particular vampire clan. What else do we see? We see love, we see death. I don't know, give me some more vampire. Give me some more vampire tropes. Certainly.
There's just, I write about 4 pages of questions, so I know that we're hitting them. We're getting there.
We're getting there. We see a lot of homoeroticism in this, because, and that's, I mean, if you're going to be alive and immortal for centuries, there's no way even the straightest of the straight person's not going to, like, because think about it. Of course, you're going to taste and feel and explore everything as an immortal.
That's right.
So we have that as well. Lots of sex and lots of performative, like theatrical. We have one of my favorite cards, the 6 of Wands, is actually the festival, the spring festival in Edinburgh, Scotland, where the vampires are pretending to be human, but they're actually vampires. That whole thing. So yeah.
I love that. But that leads into like, like what should feel like what each card or which cards would feel romantic and what ones would feel maybe dangerous, or the image, what ones would feel sacred.
That's such a great question. So
like that would be working with Abigail, like how the two of you would come up with that, the feel to the image. And the meaning.
So every time I would give her the description of the card, there was a story happening. So everybody in this deck is named. All of the majors you'll see, like they're actually named like characters in a film. And the stakes, no pun intended, the stakes are really, really high because this octave, the fool is literally, she's fighting for her life. And so the lover's card is the first time that she's in an erotic moment with a male figure. The chariot card is when she is running away from him. And it's a very exciting, very propulsive card with the whole Bram Stoker, like in like a carriage running away. The Three of Swords is the epitome of grief, where the vampire is literally devouring a heart. It might be her own, but it is the heart of another, and just that archetypal cry of pain.
Right.
The Judgment card is that moment of transformation, and for this vampire deck, it's a transformation that's happening in front of the brethren, like in front of a group. So there's a performative and group ritual aspect as she drinks the blood of each vampire in the room. We have the Devil card, where she is just warring with the male vampire in the story and realizes it's the angst and the anger that's trapping them both. The Death card, which is a homoerotic card, death portrayed as a female, that being the ultimate, the sensual and sexual ultimate calling home. So there's something even more transcendent about her, the female sexual aspect of death. All of them are really charged. Every card is very, very charged. We have in the Seven of Pentacles, we have a vampire who's accidentally fallen in love with a human she's been toying with, who's a very young boy, and it's very not cool, and she's even upset. So it even goes into like some,
places.
Yeah. Odd, inappropriate, unexpected.
Right. And which triggers people, right? Like subconsciously, consciously, it's going to bring up those layers that you haven't wanted to look at within yourself, or needing to look at yourself, and your higher self is saying, okay, now is the time. Let's look at it. And how with your own awareness and your own growth, the story will evolve and change each time you're using the deck. But
which is what's so amazing about tarot, and especially about like narrative decks. But I think the same thing holds true for movies and for novels. Like you're constantly bringing yourself to the story, no matter how old you are, what you're going through. Like when you watch it or reread it or see it again, you're constantly, and the same thing is true of the decks. And I think that I am a fan of horror. I'm a fan of the Gothic. And I think that those are safe containers with which we can really look at the things that terrify us, where, I think they bring us to the edge of our seat, because when you're in a spooky situation, you're like really paying attention. But I think that they're a container that make things okay. Like tarot is a container where all aspects, all potentials can be played out before you choose to proceed ahead in regular life. So tarot is a wonderful dress rehearsal for, the decisions that we make or will make. Or we're making.
Even with horror movies, when you're watching them over repeatedly, they become more nuanced, and you see more of what's happening in the background that's supporting the story. You start to see more of those layers, and from a different lens, wherever you're at that day, right? It has evolved. So I love tarot for that. I love tarot and how it brings those different layers to the surface.
So true.
Which major arcana was the hardest to translate into this vampiric fairy tale lens?
Oh, ironically enough, it was the death card. It was the death card, which wound up being the cover of the deck and being, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. And my
It's
first,
stunning.
yeah, thank you. It's a weighted card. It's an important card. It's for a vampire deck. You could say that death is the crux, because vampires are all about, obviously, death and immortality. And my first run through of the card, I had this image of death kind of rushing through with, like, I don't know, almost with like an army of demons behind. And it when the sketch came back, it didn't work. And so I completely was like, is it okay with you if we start again, Abigail? And I searched high and low for some art images because I thought what I wanted to portray was the erotic intimacy of death in a kiss that was consensual, but also a kiss that you can't break away from because it's death. And when death comes for each of us, whether we're ready or not, we're not going to have any choice.
Right.
We can fight against it or we can go willingly. We won't have any choice. So I searched high and low in art archives to find a very I don't know how to explain it, the posture of someone who was in an embrace they couldn't break out of, but that also was giving themselves over to it. And I should probably post it at some point. I found it and I sent it to Abigail and I was like, this is what I'm envisioning. And she was like, yes, yes, yes. She was so inspired. Like my first run through had not inspired her. And then what was wonderful is because it was taking place in a graveyard, we were able to sneak in all the Rider-Waite-Smith stuff. So you'll see the crown is hanging off a tombstone. The rising sun between two towers is engraved on a grave. So we were still able, even there's a preview of the devil in the background. You see this like gargoyle-y creature. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that card. It was really fun to make, and it just was a great reminder of sometimes you just gotta throw your idea out and start again.
Well, and trust your gut told you this isn't feeling right, and trusting that, and to keep digging, right? So that you honored the process is brilliant too, and the research part of it. That you went through those archives and that would be exciting too, like just the searching for the inspiration. And I love all that,
fun. And Abigail too. Abigail would send me things as well, right? Because it's designing a deck, especially specifically working with Abigail. Like for Tarot of the Haunted House, I was sending the artist music for like, this is the theme, like, so you have to figure out like what's the best way to communicate with each artist so that they really can taste what it is that you want them to do. And with Abigail, the through line is time and time again pre-existing, like I would say like Renaissance paintings for postures, for looks, for like I could describe it, but like our Nine of Cups, oh my God, our Nine of Cups is a mermaid vampire who like is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in the way that she's looking at you. Like you're getting your heart's desire, but do you really know what you're getting into? And her hair spilling around her in the water and it's exceptional. This deck is so beautiful.
And I love that you're talking about incorporating music and all of like the oracle cards, tarot cards, all of those things are sensory. It's pushing us to use all of our senses: see, hear, feel, taste, smell. So even when I'm teaching intuitive development, I get people just to pull the card and hold it and then read it. What is it? What are you picking up from it? So that it could be a song, it could be words or imagery or the numbers, and so that you are putting those vibes into it when you're creating it helps those of us pick up on that in the way that's best for us to receive it. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yes. And I think that,
brilliant.
all really good work is always paying heed to those things which came before. Do you know? And again,
Oh,
and that's the archetype of story or the archetype of painting or the archetype of abstraction. It's all grounded in something that we already know. It's just a new way to look at it. And that's hopefully why things resonate with people. It's something
yeah,
they know, but it's new.
yeah. We had that when we talked earlier about a deck that sings to us, or when this deck feels like it will move like the other deck that moves for me, like I can already feel it moving, the imagery moving. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this deck. So excited. So I have a feeling I might know, but we'll see. Is there a card that became the deck's mission statement, like one that may explain the entire tale or the entire system?
Yeah, actually, it's the Fool card. It's the Fool. And the reason being is because I think, well, so my Octavia, the Fool, was literally locked away in her family's castle and experimented on by her father, literally like bloodletted every day because she has this illness, right? And her only plaything, her only companion is her hellhound Morel. And so you see him on the card. You also see the spirit of air, the bat. You see the kraken, the spirit of water, because the cups are all vampire mermaids. And you see the scorpion, the element of fire. And I think more than anything, the look on her face and the excitement about when you have finally been set free and you finally have your autonomy, you have your power. Suddenly, it's all up to you. Like there's nothing more hyper present and alive than that. And I think it comes through in the Fool deck. And I think that we always want to be in that place where we have options, where we're really paying attention, that first step, but not alone, with friends, right? With your best friends.
Yeah,
With your spirit guides or your soul people or whatever that is. And then also just the excitement of the adventure to come. Do you know, life is an adventure. Even death will be an adventure. And so that idea of being willing to go with that in that Fool energy, yeah, I think the Fool is definite. And she's the cover of the guidebook.
hi Carrie, thank you so much for popping in. I don't know if you saw this.
I said 50 Shades of Vampires. Yes.
It's pretty funny. Thanks for being here. Okay, is there a card, or what's a card that you think people will misread at first because the imagery is so lush, and what do you hope they'll discover on like a deeper pass or a second go round?
What do I think that, how do I think that people will be?
Is there a card that you feel people might misread just because the imagery is so lush?
Um,
That
Well, so there was a card that I felt like was at a very that was very it was very dangerous that might happen with people. And again, it was through communicating with Abigail that this was so important, and she captured it. And it's in the Nine of Swords. So in my vampire story, in this world, a vampire's tale, vampires can feed on humans without human knowledge. And the way that happens is that a vampire will feed on a human while the human is sleeping in deep sleep. However, if the human should wake up in the midst of the feeding, they'll experience sleep paralysis. They won't be able to move, they won't be able to speak, but they'll sense this creature on top of them or quite close to them. So I asked, Abigail and I went back and forth. How do we express this in a way that is very clear that the woman lying in bed with this horrifying creature on top of her has not given consent, that this is happening against her will.
Right.
And I think we managed to pull it off. So, and it's very clear in a beautiful, in her Abigail way, right? It's very beautiful. It's not sexy in any way. So it's beautiful, but it's horrifying at the same time.
Right.
Which I think is indicative of the Nine of Swords. It's horrifying card.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I just can't wait to get my hands on this deck. It's going to be a long wait till September.
I know. But then you'll have it for the rest of your life. For an eternity.
Yes, my immortal self. It's going to love it. Okay, so vampires are loaded with shadow themes.
Yes.
Obsession, addiction, power exchanges. How do you teach people to work with those themes ethically without the fear farming, or the, how to maneuver through this?
So thank you. That's such a wonderful question. And the answer to that is, with all of these themes, is to use it as a mirror and a reflection, and then ask yourself, so if there's an issue of non-consent, like taking the Nine of Swords that we were just talking about, the shadow, or the way I would explain the shadow work of that would be, when did you not ask someone for consent and did what you did? And I think that, I'm not saying that, I'm not suggesting that we sexually maybe did something like that with people, but I think that there's times in our life when we go ahead and do things and cross lines where we shouldn't, and many times we can be so either sure of the reasoning why we did it, or maybe embarrassed that we did it, that we choose not to look at that. And I mean, the whole point of shadow work is that, sometimes we're not nice. I can be a real dick sometimes, all of us can be. And so that's the power of shadow work, is being able to say, when did I act like that scary creature? When was I cruel and spooky and intimidating and taking what I wanted without consideration of what somebody else was going through? And the ability to do that leads to such an energetic clearing, not only for yourself, because when you take responsibility for something that you've done, suddenly you're not so horrified that you did it. And then you can make amends. You can go speak to that person, or and just owning up, right? Just owning up. I don't know that it's necessarily a shadow question, but one of the questions I'm kind of obsessed with, and I talk to my kid about this, every few months, I'll say, what is it that you want me to know about you that you don't think that I see?
That's a great question.
That's such a good question. And every
Fabulous question.
Every time I ask them that question, they get soft and open, and there's always something that they think that I don't see, and it leads to a great conversation. And I would say it's a shadow question, because it is admitting that we don't see everything. We think we see everything, but of course we only see our own perspective. And so with all of the vampire themes, from greed to passion to lust, we bring it back to ourselves, to power. How do we wield our power over others? Where am I unsettled in my sensuality and sexuality? What wants to be explored? So this works really well, because in a vampire scenario, everything is so heightened, but life feels heightened. So we just turn everything around and bring the responsibility back to us, and say, how do I embody this?
Yeah. And learning that accountability without, or learning to have that accountability with grace and ease, that we're giving ourselves and showing ourselves compassion like we would, and understanding if it's a pattern of belief system within a family structure. And then again, going even deeper, that when we work on that, it's helping heal ancestors that may have not had that healing, and for the future generations, that they're not having to deal with that layer of it.
Yes. Yes. And again, like to your point, and that's the reason that we're here, is to evolve, is to expand. And so the fact that healing ourselves, or kind of getting rid of the chaos inside, or the tightness inside, that devil card inside of us, which I would argue the devil is the one who's blocking your high priestess flow. He's the one like building up that dam of that well, that by clearing that up, you're retroactively working magic, like backwards, forwards, and in multiple timelines. It's I think it's holistic, and I think it's beautiful, and it's why we're here.
It is why we're here. It is why we're here. And when we talk about shadow work too, it's understanding, like, even though we can be an arse, right? It's shining on those places where we're like that. They're usually like that's our superpower at the same time, right? We just don't realize when we're being edgy with it. So it really is our strong points too. And so understanding how to use it in a more positive way, or interact using that in a way that's healthier.
Yes, and one of the things that I think I say this a lot in classes, and I've written it in books, and I just, people often will think of shadow work as being something that's only like the bad, mean, cruel, jealous parts of yourself, the murderous parts of you, but it's everything that you bury that you don't want to look at. So that includes like all the love you don't think you deserve that you pack away. That includes talent. That includes strength. How many of us have been told that it's not, like, that being strong was bad, especially as a child, right? When you advocate yourselves and you call adults out, you get in a lot of trouble for telling the truth as a kid.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And shadow work is ongoing. It's
never ends.
That's right.
It never ends. And it shouldn't, right? Because we're infinite, right? And so the shadow work is not, there's this, I think, idea sometimes when we look at spirituality as like this nirvana, or some place that we get to where we're kind of we're human. We're all humans having a human experience. So the shadow work never ends, because in theory, and hopefully, we're experiencing more things, right? We're going to mess up, and being a magical creature, being, a witch or a metaphysical expert, or it doesn't mean you're not human. Being a celebrity, right, being a this or that, you're still an imperfect, beautifully imperfect human. So you got to keep doing the work. It's not a Band-Aid that will fix everything forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I stay away from people who say that they've learned everything. That when it's all love and light and it's really just syrupy sweet, I'm like,
I may have discussed this with you. I've talked about this a lot with Darkwood Tarot. Light is like, darkness is 90-something% of the universe. We know that light is just the things that we're aware of. Like, it's tiny pricks, like the tiny, like, sun in the solar system. So the idea that light is all things, that's just it's not true. And it's honestly, it's a racist construct as well, that like light's better than darkness or higher than darkness, when darkness is the source of all potential.
Yeah. Agree. Love and light. It makes me, I call it stink eye tight, but what? There's some love and light there. Okay. Sure.
I'm hearing a lot lately, protect your peace, protect your peace. And I understand why it's trying. We're in trying times right now, but you know, I think it's okay to pay attention, and it's okay to be in pain with what's happening. Um, yes. Oh, what Carfast is saying about people who have definitive answers and a definitive ego. Yeah. How could any of us, how could any of us?
Well, and separating people have maybe a misconception about ego, and like removing you not being an ego, not being an ego. We still need a little bit of ego. It's learning how to live with it, and working along with it, embracing it in that positive way. Do you want to chime in on that?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for even bringing it up. So, I mean, I do feel like fear and ego are two things that people will often talk about banishing or getting rid of fear. Get rid of your fear, get rid of your ego. No, like what we describe as fear and ego play two very important roles in our lives. Like fear keeps us from wandering into a street and like getting run over by a truck, right? So healthy fear will keep us alive. And ego is kind of part and parcel of that. We develop an ego as a child when we realize we are separate, physically separate from the material world around us, right? That's why you only bump your head into a table so many times when you're a kid learning how to walk or whatever. So we need the fear and we need the ego. Well, our job is, I believe, is to be able to stand back like the magician in the tarot who has, the four suits on the table, step back, have that little bit of space. So you can identify when fear is running the show or when ego is running the show. And so just by being aware of, oh, that's my ego, or, oh, that's me freaking out, right? Then you don't necessarily have to fall into that. Then you have autonomy. You choose how to respond rather than to react.
Yeah. And it's giving it's totally the discernment, right? It's learning discernment and giving yourself that room for pause. I always call it the bad Chihuahua brain, or I'm having a bad brain moment. Give me a second, I need to pause, or I'll get back to you because I am having a Chihuahua brain moment. And and then come back to it. I just own it. And the more that you own it, the more that you can show yourself grace and compassion, and the discernment is there. But I think people really struggle with discernment, or I feel people struggle with discernment. It's a hard place for people.
I think it is very challenging. And I would say, I think that, and this happens a lot with tarot cards, if we are pulling cards and we don't know what something means immediately, I think we're very quick to brush that aside. And I think that when you're pulling cards and something's not making sense, leave it out, sit with it for a couple days.
Yeah, that was actually the question that I had written that I wanted to get to next, which is we're falling right into it, was helping people discern or knowing the difference between intuition or a fixation, or not slipping into that bad brain moment when they keep pulling dark cards.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, again, it's such a great question, and this is something that I don't hear a lot of people in the divination community talking about, and I think it's important to look at and remember for ourselves, which is that in there are these catchwords, these big bucket catchwords where people put everything into, and then like words are kind of flung around with like all of these meanings. So my favorite way to talk about psychic versus intuition, I think it's really important to discern between the two. And other people might say something different, but my version of this is that intuition is a quick and ready thing that's always operating inside the body, like a quick and ready knowledge. And psychic things it's information entering our body from the outside world.
Yeah.
And can often be very clearly discernible, like a bubble popping in your head, or however we're all built differently. We all experience the world differently. So however that operates for you. But so the trick with the intuition, because the intuition is a very embodied thing, is that we also have an associative memory situation happening that's just built into our brain. So the associative memory is that part of our brain which makes the shortcuts between learned experiences, so we don't have to stop. Like if you and I are driving, jamming out to music, drinking our coffee, and we get up to a stop sign or a red light, you don't have to stop the conversation with me in order to know to stop the car. It's an automatic embodied thing that in your muscle memory. And so this is why we're able to multitask. And so the trick is that oftentimes we'll be reading cards or just in our life making judgment calls, thinking that it's our intuition, but it might be a preconditioning that we had, how we view people based on experiences that we've had. Like if you got I don't know if you like, we all know, like when you see someone who looks like one of your exes, if it was a good thing, then you're like, ooh, I like that person immediately. But if your ex was like a complete psychopath who put you through hell, maybe that dude with the long black hair and the ponytail, immediately your body is like, oh, that guy looks dangerous, or like not someone I want to be near. And this is the breeding ground for racism and all sorts of judgment calls. So I think that the answer, harkening back to what we were speaking about in the last question, is again just pausing when you're making a decision or following a feeling that comes from inside of your body. Just pause and say, is that truly my intuition? Is that my gut, or is that just based on an experience I've had, or maybe a preconceived notion that I have? And just that moment of stopping to just give space is going to give you more information on which one that it is. And I think that it's really useful and really important.
It's very important work. Huge work to understand that your body is constantly giving you those intuitive nudges, and people are so disconnected from their body. So taking that time to pause and just take a breath, and how does this feel, and where are you feeling it, to help discern what your intuitive language and voice sounds or feels like for you specifically. And life just becomes magical when you've got that in. And you do feel empowered and more confident and have clarity with the choices and decisions that you're making when you understand how it's working for you.
And that's when, and truly, that's truly when, and I again, I'll tell you, it's the gift of getting older, is you get to know your body so well. And I've never, and I'm surprised that like in my mid 50s, like I feel my flow, like I am in flow, I am in alignment, and it literally does kind of course through me like an energy. I mean, I think it helps that I live in New York City and that we live in a grid. So the energy does move like but it is something embodied that I can feel for longer and longer periods of time, which is quite lovely. But hopefully everybody can.
And we really do get less interested in what other people think as we get older. That's a true thing we let go of, but it does take age and experiences, and we do get there eventually. Yeah. I want to ask, if in this deck, what does the bite symbolize in real life?
The bite in the real life, again, it goes back to intimacy. And I think in the prologue, or maybe in the very beginning, where I'm talking to the reader, and I'm talking as Octavia, and I'm saying, your breath hit my neck, bite my wrist, bite my inner thigh, like that magical, kind of the 3 magical places vampires are known for feeding at. It is the ultimate sensuality. It's ultimate sensuality, but it's also, I love that vampires are so literal. When we love something, especially like, I don't know, like, I love, 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 babies, right? You just want to gobble them up. And I think there was like The Cure had that wonderful lyric, like, why can't I be you? Like when you're obsessed and you just want to possess that thing, that person, when you want to devour them. There's a part in The Vampire's Tale and the Empress, which is a really weighted card, because her mother's not paying attention to her, and she wants the mother's attention so much that she literally bites her. She wants to devour her. And in a sense, moms talk about, or adults talk about, wanting to gobble up babies, but I think children want to devour their parents just as much.
Yeah.
You're mine. You are mine. You are, and it's intimate and intense. So yeah.
Love that. I would see your kid who went away for school too, right?
They just graduated from Bard last year.
When I would see my kiddo when they were at school, for the first time, I'd wrap my leg around them and hold them, and I go, I just want to melt into you. So that's for me. I just want to be one with you in the best way possible.
In the best way possible. Oh, that was a 3 of Swords that I did not expect when they left for college. Yeah, but I'm excited they're back and back in our lives. And to the other, I guess I did neglect to even talk about the wanting to eat your lover, and wanting to devour your lover, and then that ultimate consummation in consensual, erotic, really wonderful love, where you literally are devouring them, and then the 2 of you kind of, or the 3 of you, 4 of you, whatever you've got going on, that you ultimately transcend your own bodies. I think sex is one of the most metaphysical things that everybody does, but they don't really call it that. But you're literally not in, you're literally transcending together.
Yeah. It's an exchange of energy.
When it's good.
For sure. And if you're both on the same page, then it's magical. Which brings me to my next question, which was about consent. So they're the masterclass. Vampires are the masterclass in it, right? About consent and boundaries, or lack thereof. So what are your top boundary cues that you look for in a reading, or that you teach in a reading, in using tarot?
Boundaries in a reading.
Boundary cues.
Meaning, how do I know when I'm stepping over a boundary and I need to bring it back in?
Mm-hmm. Or where would you, how you share that information that is coming through in a way that is, yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I think that when you're reading, especially when you're reading for someone maybe you don't know that well, or even if you're a professional reader and you're reading for the public, the general public, I think it's having a very strong ethical, this is what I will do and this is what I won't do. So when I was a tarot reader for about a decade professionally here in New York, and I had a few rules. One, I would never read for someone who was pregnant. Never, ever, ever, because the power of suggestion is so strong. And I just didn't want to be responsible if something scary came up in the reading for them when the stakes are every time I say stakes, the stakes are so high. And oftentimes the pregnant people would be like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, no, that's just something I won't do. I also would never, I knew in advance, I would never give medical advice because I'm not a doctor. So I think knowing what you will and won't do, reading for couples, that was on a case-by-case basis. And if something comes up for you when you're reading for someone, you can always kind of invent it as an ethic, as if it's always been sometimes we get surprised. Sometimes people will be I've read for people who are I didn't know, but they were felons and on their way to, jail. And
So
that,
I had an experience, couple. So I was very grateful for the other friends that I know that I could, that were in a position of authority and go, hey, so something happened. What do I do with this? Kind of thing. Yeah, it's hard to roll back some of that stuff, right?
yeah, and you want to be safe for yourself,
That's
and
right.
for the other person first and foremost. So yeah, so
Yeah.
just trying to troubleshoot, talk to your friends, read in the books, because sometimes there are things you won't even think of, right? You haven't even thought of it until it happens. Um, and then I think it's important. One of the boundaries that I like to have is I don't read tarot nonchalantly. So if someone's not in it and respecting what I'm doing, I'm not going to read their cards.
Yeah.
If somebody just wants to hear what's going to happen to them in the future and has no interest in taking personal responsibility for themselves or their choices, I'm not. Then you go get a free reading online.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
that's that. So that too.
Because the intention for wanting or using tarot matters. Is it for entertainment, or is this for personal growth and accountability? And that matters too. I think when you set that as your intention, that energy goes out and the right people will find you. And understanding that it doesn't lie, tarot doesn't lie. So if you are imbibing in whatever you may be imbibing in, you may not be in that emotional space to understand what is, or you'll perceive it through a different lens, and that can be that can go sideways, right? So
Yeah.
having a drinking party and reading tarot.
Yeah. Exactly. And oh, I totally forgot what I was going to say. What? Oh, I know what I was going to say. That the space between a reader and the person that you're reading for, and again, that's not to say that sometimes you are at a party or you are sometimes in a heightened situation, but generally speaking, the space between a reader and the person they're reading for is very special, because when somebody comes for a reading, generally they really let down their guard and they allow themselves to be seen. And so it's a moment, like, how many of us feel like we're seen, like
Yeah.
intensely seen for 20 or 10 minutes on any given day? Like,
And most people are looking for hope.
it's a special
They
thing.
really are looking for hope. Mhm.
It's a special thing. So that should be honored. And yeah.
So since we talked about that aspect, how would you recommend people close a reading with a deck like this, like so that they're grounded or not like an emotional nerve ending, kind of blowing in the wind? How would you suggest a close? How to close a session?
So I think that if the reader or if the person getting the reading, if they're not on board with the imagery of any tarot deck, not just Vampire's Tale or anything, if they're not feeling comfortable with it, it shouldn't be used. If vampires, or if it's too bloody or too death forward or too gothic, pick something light and lovely, or find a deck that might make them feel comfortable, or they should, like, no one should get a reading with anything. Like, the Toth deck does not make me feel comfortable, so I would never want a reading with that.
Yeah.
So never force your favorite deck on another person who doesn't feel comfortable with it. But
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. It really is true. Like, we're pulled to people for a different reason. I even say that with mediums. Like, it's great to get referrals, and it's very important to get the referrals, but it's also very important to understand why that person chose. Are they looking for future information? Were they looking for closure? What is that medium work best? Like, what is their what's in their wheelhouse that they really focus on? And they may be a great medium, but that may not be what your intention or fits with your intention. So that stuff matters.
It really, really matters. And I think that it's important not to get swept away in whatever the divinatory situation is, because it can be very emotional. It can be really heightened. And while it can be astonishing what happens, you don't, it's important not to lose yourself in it. I mean, again, it's knowing your boundaries.
Yeah, which is the question that I wrote next, actually. If someone's drawn to this deck, to the Vampire's Tale deck, because they're in that vulnerable season, if they're in that vulnerable space, what's a supportive way to use the deck without turning it into doom scrolling? You know,
doom scrolling a tarot deck. I've snaps to that. That I have just added that to my vernacular. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. Well, because the deck takes a really positive attitude towards death, and in terms of and in a philosophical way, right? Everything is dying so that we can live. Even if we're vegetarians, right? We're eating plants and roots and all of those things. So, how not to doom scroll? Once again, pull out a card, get the card for your question. And even if you don't like it, and even if you want more, sit with the card. Let it be the card. And I know this as well as anybody. Like when you really want something, when it is like root level important to us, and we just want it. We want it so bad. We will scroll the F out of our deck. And it's just, you're spinning your wheels and wasting your time. You're not going to get anything. So, pull your card or cards as the prescribed spread that you're using, and let it be, and let it sit out so it can stay there, so you can figure out more. And then that's the other thing, is when you know what the card, then when it's bad, when it's giving you the information, or when you know that it's giving you the information you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
You're rewarded on the other side when it gives you the information that you do want to hear. And that day will come. That day will come. I had a moment. I had something like that recently. And it was great because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I was in alignment with this thing.
High intention, low attachment.
Yes.
Really letting go of that expectation. And I find with those, exactly what you said, I need to let it sit on my desk and let it be there for a full week, not just an hour and come back. It's really sit with it. And in those different times of day, I may have pulled it when I was overtired, and my Chihuahua brain is loud when I am overtired. So, first thing in the morning, I am good first thing in the morning. I'm a first thing in the morning kind of person. So I come back to it first thing in the morning, and I have a whole fresh approach to it and perspective with it. So needing to look at it in those different times of day and different emotional spaces makes a difference.
And you're also going to understand more nuance to the card. That's, and that's the other side of this, right? Mm-hmm. Leaving the cards out, in a sense, there was a great exercise I did in college in an art history class where we had to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or some museum. I went to the Met, and gaze into a painting for 45 minutes and just see what happened.
Exactly.
And I learned more about tarot, and that was before I designed decks. I learned so much just by gazing into that. And so we want to, and this is the other trick. None of us read cards so we can reassess what we already know. The reason that we light candles and there's mystery around divination is because when we're pulling cards, we're reaching into that darkness of what we cannot yet conceive of. And so when we're so quick and ready to like, oh, that's what this means, and the spread is saying this XYZ, we're missing all of this possibility that maybe we would understand a little bit better if we spent time with the cards. So you're never going to be at a loss for keeping cards out to really understand and see the nuance of how they're speaking about the situation. And I think tarot appreciates it. The energy of tarot appreciates it because it's got a lot to say. Nobody knows us better.
And we need to build up a relationship with each one of those cards to begin with. So like that's what I like. And it takes such a long time, but taking one out and then just sitting with each one and then feeling confident to actually use it, but spending time with each card first before actually doing a reading with them, which may sound bad, but I do have like a serial killer tarot deck.
Really?
I do. I do. And so, yeah, so that's a whole other level of, my weird self, but that would be one of those ones too.
Are you a true crime girly?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that true crime deck was very interesting to explore as a tarot deck. Like it was a whole other realm. And again, looking at those pieces of you, why am I a true crime person? Why am I drawn to these horrific stories? Why am I drawn to the psyche of this person? And it's interesting to explore, folks.
Good for you for exploring it, for being willing to like dive in and be curious about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you get the vampire coloring book and the vampire or the serial killer coloring book, and you bring some light side to it afterwards. It's like watching the horror movie late at night, and then you have to watch like the unicorn videos before you go to bed. Or at least with like my kids. I don't anymore need to do that because they're all adults now, but it's how we used to have to roll. We're gonna watch Poltergeist, and then we'll watch something fun.
Some little bear.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to say, you know what? We're going to do the station ID just because I forgot at the top of the hour. So we're going to do that really quickly. Folks, if you are just chiming in or listening to us now, thank you so much for joining us. You are listening to Spirit Switchboard, and I am your host, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. If you are liking what you are listening to and want to explore more of what UPRN has to offer, you can head to uprntalkradio.com and we find out more about our hosts and shows, access the thousands of archives that we have. We would love to hear from you. If you have an idea for a show, if you'd like to be on the show, please send me an email at carrielinsporch@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Cindy has a question for us. Today's guest is Sasha Graham, Tarot Diva, and we are talking about Vampire's Tale Tarot deck that is coming out this September. Cindy is asking, can I ask if you are solid on using a certain spread, or do you think allowing the jumpers to be the reading?
I don't know about you. I live for jumpers. And what I try and do, depending on how many, like if there's more than like 4 or 5 cards, maybe I'll just choose one face down as the jumper. But I try and, personally, I save the jumpers as the final word, although you can use them as the context for the entire. I mean, I guess it goes on a moment-to-moment basis. I guess I go with what my gut says. What about you, Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm the same. I tend to see it as the context, and it depends to what other intuitive information I'm picking up at the same time with the other cards that are laid. But I love the jumpers. Yeah. When a jumper comes out, it's exciting. It's like the gold nugget, the gold nugget of it.
And if there's no jumpers, I will say that just in terms of like how to end a reading, and I love to do this. I love to do it for myself, but I love to do it for who I'm reading with, because usually the person you're reading for won't expect it. Which is like you've got the stack that you haven't pulled, and you'll say like, so the final word for this reading will be the card on the bottom.
Oh,
So I like letting the bottom of the stack be like the goodbye final word.
that's very cool. I hadn't thought of that.
I love tarot.
When I sit with the each card, when I spend that time sitting with each card, taking the time to sit with each card, I also figure out which one through that process is my yes and my no.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's usually a card that really feels pulled to me as a yes card, and another card that will feel like a no card. So, I will still use tarot even for a quick response to something. And when I'm seeing either that yes or that no card, using this is my yes and this is my no, and laying the cards out and seeing how that unfolds. And it's been very good and accurate for me when I've done that.
I enjoy just using reversals as like pulling one card for yes or no, and the reversal is no.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I mean, that's just something I do, but
I love that though.
it's definitive. You don't have to argue. You can't argue with it. If it's upside down, the answer is no. That's it. End of story.
I have this deck, which is so unlike me because I love color. I love color. If there's color and I want to touch it, then I usually am going to get it, right? I love color. But this deck that I use the most is black and white.
Oh.
And the reversal doesn't actually always ring true when those cards are in reversal. So again, it was just the way that I was understanding this deck and the way this deck has unfolded with me in that relationship. The reversal doesn't work the same with that deck as it does with tarot decks, other tarot decks that I have. Other tarot decks, the reversal for sure, I understand it, but this one, it's not the same. It's interesting.
So fascinating. Shadowscapes Tarot is one of those decks that for some reason the reversals don't even apply. It's the only deck like I don't know, and I don't know why it is. It's always like always upright, even if it's reversed. Like isn't it funny? We have it's kind of like the friend who like when we get together, we'll always get Italian will be our thing, or we'll always go to that Thai restaurant. I mean,
yeah. Let's see if we can pull this. Hi, Sandra. So Sandra's chiming in from PEI, actually. I always say the jumpers are the card or cards that I really need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And when there's two that are stuck together as the jumper,
that
too.
I love it when like 2 or 3 cards fall out and they make then somehow they make that nice noise on the floor too. That
yeah. And I look at it like a sign too, like how did they fall? Like the imagery of the how they fall is also part of that reading, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm that girl that will see signs and symbols in her mashed potatoes.
Love it. I'm same. Everything's a message, but it's true. But everything is a message because everything's trying to get our attention all the time.
Yeah.
Inanimate objects. Whenever I'm in a space where people are getting readings, like an audience or something like that, I always say, listen to every person's card as if the information was for you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You never know who you can trust anymore. Interesting.
That comes, we did kind of chat about that earlier, about getting the referrals, but understanding why you're wanting the reading and who you're asking for the referrals, what their intentions were when they got the reading. And then, really trusting your intuition and what feels right for you as well too is super, super important.
Yeah.
because it is an investment. It's an investment. It's an investment in yourself, and that's how I look at it. I don't know. Did you want to add to that?
No, I agree. Like left side, you're right side. Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, I think that nothing is more like getting a negative reading, of course, is like the worst. Like getting bad and like just dark, not love it, like bad information that sticks in your head and then you can't unhear once you hear it. I think that's a total bummer. But I think that one of the things that I am, the thing that disappoints me if I'm going out of my way to get a reading from someone is I don't want anyone's point of view to be so small that they can't conceive of my life, or like they don't, if when they I've had readings where people, the person doing the reading, it kind of puts you in this small box, and then you just know you can't really, they're reading to the best of their ability, but they just, and I think that the power of tarot comes in its abstraction, and when you're communicating abstractly, the cards that are in front of you, the person who's getting the reading can easily fill in any of what's going on in their life in the information that's being shared. So yeah, I think it's important to really know who you're going to get your reading, like get the vibe of the person who will be reading for you.
Yep, agreed. Sandra Cordick, that is the funniest thing. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I tend to be the opposite in the way that intuition has ever been taught, like where the feminine side is the left side and male side's right side, and it's like the exact opposite for me, and it's always accurate for me, and it's how I roll. And so I teach people, you have to figure out what's truthful for you. That's why tapping into your body and understanding how your body is working with your intuitive voice and your intuitive language. You may lean forward for yes, or back for yes, or whatever it is. It's already there in these subtle ways. It's pausing to learn the subtle ways that you're receiving it, and then ignoring whatever everybody else is teaching. If it doesn't resonate, if you just really feel okay about saying no, does it work for you? It works for you this way, and roll with it. Just be brave. Be brave and
not, and I do think that, and it's a fine line as a teacher, I suppose, like not, we're talking when we're doing tarot, when we're talking about tarot or intuitive or psychic classes, we're talking about ineffable things. We're talking about the invisible world. We're talking about embodied sensation. So language doesn't really do a lot of this stuff justice. And so there's the tried and true words that are always used. But I think that they really box us in, and it can just be easy to agree with someone who's an expert because they're well versed in the language of that particular thing. And it's just really important, I think, not to give your power away, to always. Right. I'm very skeptical, even though I operate in the world of metaphysics. Like I want to know if something's happening, that it's really happening. I owe it to myself and to my craft to discern. Again, going back to your issue of discernment, it's so important, and we all have our own litmus test for what's true for us, and we should apply it frequently.
That's right. If you are trying to fit yourself into that teacher's box and it's uncomfortable, you're not fully relaxing. You're not breathing properly. You're not opening up. You're not feeling safe to be vulnerable when you're trying to cram yourself into those parameters. So, it's speaking your truth. That's what this deck is going to help you, folks. Dig into that shadow stuff. SashaGraham.com. Head there.
Be the Indiana Jones of your own. Be the vampire explorer of your own experience here in the material world.
It earlier, Thrift Books has the tarot deck $10 cheaper than other places currently.
About $7. Yeah, it's about $20. $20. As opposed to 7 or 28.
And to ensure that you are not getting a bootleg copy or something later, if you act now and do the pre-order, you receive it in September, and you're guaranteed to be getting the original with the with the guidebook as well too, right?
Yeah. And you'll also have a first edition, which for book collectors out there, it's wonderful.
It's very important.
Yeah.
And so originally I had wrote this, but you did talk about it at the beginning, so you we can skip over it. But I am going to, just because I had written it, like the guide. So I had written what's different about the guidebook for the Vampire's Tale Tarot, and is it more story driven or spell work, ritual, or shadow prompts, technique? I know that we did talk about it earlier, but would you talk about it again for folks if they're just chiming in?
Absolutely. So it's the first tarot guidebook that I know of that is a complete story in and of itself. So that's why it's called The Vampire's Tale. It's a gothic fairy tale. The fool is embarking on this extraordinary journey into the supernatural world, and her story is really all of our stories, right? We all resonate with the fool and with the deck. So whatever's going on in any particular tarot deck, we can read ourselves within that context, which is why I felt comfortable making a guidebook that is fully a fictional piece of work. And additionally, there's so many tarot resources out there now. I didn't feel like I had to put in this is how you read tarot cards. Like you could find it anywhere. It's on your phone. It's so I wanted to use the space of the book to expand the universe inside the deck. Yeah.
That must have been very thrilling for you, right? Like coming from this background of in the arts, and being in movies and TV and all of that, being able to tell this story must have been very thrilling for you.
Well, it's so exciting, and the reason that it makes me so because I know for people who for whom the Darkwood Tarot, or for Tarot of the Haunted House, or for Witch's Garden, like the people that deeply form connections with the tarot decks that I've created, I understand how like profound that connection is, and how we go to the tarot with the most important things in our life. And when you're able to create something that helps people see themselves, or helps people recontextualize themselves or their situation, it is just an honor of honors. Like it is tarot isn't like you'll finish a great book and put it on your shelf, and then it becomes like a totem of maybe you'll go back and reread it. But tarot decks are evergreen, and they're with us through thick and thin, and like it is just the honor and joy of my life that I'm able to do anything that resonates with people, that helps them figure out their stuff. That just
and it really is with us through all the different seasons, right?
Yeah.
So the one card you can't wait for people to meet.
Ooh. I love my Five of Wands.
Okay. So are you not, don't share? Let's wait and see what the Five of Wands is going to all be about. Are you going to?
I mean, I could tell you. If you want, I don't have to, but the Five of Wands is hot.
Five of Wands, folks, the one she can't wait. And so now we need to remember that, so that we can all make a post about it later. Hashtag Five Wands.
Five of Wands, Vampire's Tale.
Vampire's Tale. Okay, a card that will trigger people in a useful way.
Oh, I think the Nine of Swords. Gosh, I go back to the Nine of Swords. That card is externally triggering, but then we know that the Nine of Swords is the triggering that we do to ourselves internally. So I think that will be triggering. I think for anybody who is the slightest bit homophobic, they'll be triggered by a lot of the cards on this deck. There's just lots of love in all the different ways. What else might be triggering for people? The Ten of Swords is a vampire taking their own life. So yeah, so there's suicide in the deck as well. But of course, like, I mean, some like really, do we want to live forever? Like this vampire, he's clearly like at the end of his 800 years, or whatever. So yeah, so that could be triggering. The book could be very triggering. There's violence and blood, and yeah.
There is Maggie Gyllenhaal just did an interview. Did you see that, for The Bride?
I cannot wait to see The Bride, and I've been watching her interviews, so I'm excited to hear what you say.
Well, because she was talking about the violence, so there was people complaining about the violence in it, the sexual violence that was in it, and she said, but we have to have these conversations, and we don't necessarily have these conversations, and so her desire to keep it as is, because it was triggering in a way to have these conversations, right? So yeah. Your favorite suit in the deck? Do you have a favorite suit in the deck? Why would you have a favorite suit?
I do. And to your point about the sensory bits, I loved making the cups vampire mermaids. That was so exciting to me. And
I love that you did that, because what made me giggle when you talked about it? I have a 5-year-old granddaughter.
What?
And yeah. And she calls me Queenie, which is super fun. So I get called Queenie. Yes, ma'am. So she calls me Queenie, and she is a little dark gothic baby. Always has been. And so she loves mermaids, and she's got this coloring book, and she made them all into vampires. She drew little vampire teeth. I'm going to take a picture of them and send them to you. She made every princess in this book a vampire. I'm going to take pictures and send them to you. I'll post them online and tag you.
I'm obsessed. What? And of course, it's your granddaughter. Right?
Yes.
Generation.
I think she's going to have it going on for sure. So yeah, that was the
That's fun. Yeah, no, and there were a lot of vampire. I got to put them in places like Venice, places where, and yes, and I've just never really had an ocean environment outside of like maybe the King of Cups. So it was really fun to play with that, and all of like the tsunamis and watery. It's just so sensorial. The brine, the salt. I don't know, the glistening scales, and yeah, and that vampire, like once they leave the ocean, there is no going back. So like 8 of Cups is a vampire leaving her aquatic world behind.
Her world. Amazing. Yeah. Melissa is saying pre-ordered.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, so just fun, right? Like lightning round kind of questions, but it's twofold. So vampire energy in one sentence, both a healthy version and an unhealthy version.
Oh, in a healthy version, delicious. In an unhealthy version, gorge, like gorging.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I mean, a little gorge is okay, but we don't want then it becomes the devil card, right?
I'm just gonna switch some things here. There we go. Where are you going to be next? Where are you teaching, talking? What have you got going on?
Okay, so I guess I should say, so I am taking actually a bit of a pause for the next month or two. So I just was teaching at Kripalu. I'll be back there again teaching a 5-day yoga and tarot retreat with my co-teacher Allison DeNicola in July. And this hasn't been announced officially, but I'm going to go ahead and share it with your viewers. I'm really excited about this.
Here's your first, folks.
So breaking news. But it is actually breaking. because we are going to make an official announcement. So I've teamed up with a production company and have created a one-woman show called Sasha Graham's Ghost Stories and Tarot. And we are slated for 24 performances at Edinburgh Festival Fringe this August.
Oh, how fabulous.
So it's kind of, this fall is going to be crazy. So I'll be doing a show every day in Edinburgh for August, and I fly home. And the Morgan Library here in New York City is doing a huge tarot retrospective. It opens in June, and it's going to run through early October. They're bringing the Visconti Sforza deck is going to be complete. All 3 portions are going to be there.
Wow.
It's going to be an extraordinary exhibition. So I fly home from Scotland, and I'm doing an evening how to read a tarot card with Sasha Graham in the Red Library after hours.
Oh, exciting.
In the gallery. And so then like 3 days later is my kickoff signing, the beginning of my tarot deck book tour. And that'll be at Forbidden Planet, New York City. Then I'm going to go all around the country, and then I'm off going back to the UK in October as a keynote for the UK Tarot Conference and doing book signings there. So because August, September, October is just going to be so full, I'm taking thank you so much, Kathy. I'm taking the next few months to develop the show, to catch up on some other writing projects that I have coming out that I can't talk about yet. So right now, the spring and early summer is going to be about creation, and then I'll be out and wild in the world.
I'm so excited for you. Like, what a magical time period this is. Like 2026 for you. It's magical.
I mean, and the energy of this year, this spring, oh my God, like it's just, there's a lot of energy that's being kicked up, and I'm delighted to have a place to funnel it.
And people are ready to, and just craving it. They're craving. They are craving.
They're thirsting for it.
Yes, they are. It's amazing. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great coming back. I hope I can come back again when I have another deck out.
Yeah, I'm glad the timing worked before your schedule got you traveling all over the place. So I'm glad that we caught you now. So anytime, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. I'm really excited.
Amazing. Yeah, it's going to be amazing for you. Thank you so much, everybody that was hanging out in the chat. I know it was we were very caught up in the conversation, and we didn't pull you all in like we normally do. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and your comments. And we did read them, even if we didn't bring all of the comments up on. So we do appreciate that. Carrie Fast is just saying, I discovered tarot a few years ago and loved the chat to talk about cards. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to Joe Montaldo, our owner, and Michelle DeRoche, our network manager, who did chime in just to check in that it was going smooth for us after our little bit of a bumpy start. But yeah, so thank you to UPRN and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 in the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week, next Friday. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.